Forest Building Review Board to introduce themselves, starting to my left.
Fred Moyer.
Robert Rita.
Ted
Michael
Notes.
Black.
Oh, sorry.
Michael Black.
Ross Friedman.
The board is here tonight to work together with all of you, property owners, architects, neighbors, and interested citizens, to continue the long tradition that allows Lake Forest residents and businesses to work together to preserve the qualities and the unique character that make Lake Forest a special community. We recognize the personal importance of each petitioner's request. Our goal is to respect the needs and desires of property owners while balancing the interests of the community as a whole to preserve and enhance its architectural character and landscape streetscapes. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Building Review Board, the types of projects that come before this board are those in which the property owners are requesting a variance to allow a home that is larger than permitted by the code, are seeking a demolition permit and approval of a replacement structure, or otherwise involve issues that could not be fully resolved by city staff. It is important to note that over 95% of building permits are issued by the city without the need of any board review. Thus, the board typically deals with the most challenging and sometimes controversial projects. The City of Lake Forest is committed to conducting open and fair meetings. To achieve that goal, the board has adopted meeting procedures, and all parties will be provided an opportunity to speak. These procedures are outlined on the agendas available at the back of the room. This meeting is also broadcast on cable television. Speaking on behalf of the entire board and city staff, our objective is to provide a review process that is thorough, fair, and without unnecessary delay. This evening, we have quite a few things on our agenda, so we'd ask that people try to keep their comments as brief as possible, and we will have people on a timer to facilitate the timeliness of the meeting. The next order of the business is the approval of minutes from our previous meeting, which are not quite ready yet, so we'll move on to our third agenda item, which is a continued consideration of a request for approval of a demolition and replacement residence located at 660 North Croft Court, and approval of the overall site plan and a landscape plan is also requested. The owners are Patrick and Ann Allen, and the representative is Gary Frank. Please come on up. And are there any people with any conflicts of interest on this? Okay, great.
Hi,
go ahead.
how are you? Thank you very much, Chairman King. We are back before you to basically answer a few questions that you had from the last meeting. We have worked with staff to put together some various questions they had. One thing that we started out with is we've changed a little bit of the site plan, and that was in part to save a couple of heritage trees. One was up in this location just to the left of the pool, and one was up here to the right of the garage. The purpose, one of the questions that came up last time was whether the garages should be similar or dissimilar. We actually, in order to save that tree, we moved it to the left about 5 feet, and the closer it got to the other garage, the more we felt like it was that they should be similar. So we took care of that. Just a couple of items, quick things that you also asked us for. It doesn't really show up here very well on the projector, but you asked for the front gate, so that was on your 13.2 sheet. This was some of the low fencing, some of the low garden fencing that we did, vegetable garden fencing. Part of the package comments from staff was the amount of lighting that we had on the site. The recommendation is 10. We're asking for an additional 8, mostly towards the front of the house. Let me just see here. There we go, the front of the house. And we're asking for that for a couple reasons. One is the site is a very large site. The front of the front of the site is probably about an acre in size. So it's important that for safety reasons, for people coming to the house, that they have a visual of where everything is located on the house. So we've asked for 8 additional light fixtures. So a couple of them for a couple of trees right here at the entrance to the house, and one towards the sort of the side door of the house. So it's something we would like you to consider for us this evening. Let's see here. Staff asked us to put identify markers for The materials, which we've done, shingles, stone, and we've gone through, through those items and identified those. We've taken there were some questions about the courtyard, and we had there were some diagonals that were shown in there as part of the hardscape. We've now identified that we've taken those out, and we've just given you the plan as without the angles on the plans. Again, just materials, shingles, stone, the identifiers, garage identifiers, and then materials. So the top left, the typical gate was emblematic of the front gate. The exterior stone selections, a gray and buff color with blue stone, and typical vegetable garden and garden fencing is what we had identified here. Quick sketch of the front door as you enter up into the house. This is just, again, the site plan, just giving you a sort of an overall look of the property. Again, we've cleaned up the front entrance so that it's on axis in two directions. A little bit more of a blow up, just clarifying the entry for you. That really identifies, the questions that were asked of us last time. I guess there was a question about windows, the mullions of the windows. So all the window mullions had matched up. That's on the elevations on the front of the house. The gentleman who asked about that is not here this evening, but we identified all those. And I think we've answered pretty much all the questions that had been asked of us from last time. We met with the forester extensively, going through the heritage trees, what should be taken down, how it should be taken down. So that was all taken care of. The civil engineering was all, we worked with staff on that. Really all that we had. If you have any questions more specifically, be happy to answer.
Thank you very much. Kathy, staff report, please.
Thank you, Chairman King. When this came before you in March, I believe, the board generally was supportive of the project, found that it generally met the design guidelines, was designed in a manner consistent with the selected style and consistently on all elevations. You determined that the materials were of high quality, natural materials. You did have some questions about details. The elevations that have been provided to you provide additional detail. You did have questions about the garage, and you heard an explanation of the study that was done of that comment and the decision that was made to keep the two garages consistent with each other. There was a slight shift in the site plan with respect to the outdoor amenities that really isn't visible from the street and is still in compliance with the zoning setbacks. From the staff perspective, we do find that this project meets the design guidelines. You have a number of conditions of approval. One concern that does remain is the amount of lighting on the site. The lighting guidelines do specify that, including the front of the house out to the front property line, that there should be a maximum of 10 lights in that area, front of the house, and including anything set in the yard. This plan does propose almost double that number, so there is some concern. It is mitigated in part by the fact that there's very little visibility from the public street of this property, but important that the right to night and the dark sky concept be followed, particularly in this area where there is adjacency to open lands. So that is important. I think that if you choose to recommend some flexibility to use more than 10 lights in front of the house, we would suggest a a condition that as we review the final landscape plan and lighting plan, as the property begins to take shape, that we assure that the lights, as we would normally, that the lights are shielded, the source of the light is not visible, that there is no uplighting on the building. Uplighting is proposed on the pillars, which is acceptable, but no uplighting on the house itself, that any lighting is directed up at vegetation, and that we do an inspection after installation and have intensity adjusted as necessary. All exterior lighting does need to be on a timer and turned off at 11 p.m., so it is not on 24 hours a day. Staff does recommend approval, subject to the conditions in your staff report, and the extra suggestion if in fact you agree to more than 10 lights in the front yard. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Now's a chance for the board to ask any questions of the staff or the petitioner. Ross, you want to kick us off tonight?
What is the square footage again? I don't seem to find that in the
The allowable square footage, I believe, is, Kathy, help me out, 11,500? I don't have that with me because I went through that,
roughly.
about 11,500,
That's the allowable and that's what the home is?
yes. There's various allowances that are given for porches, garages, things like that also. So by the time you take the square footage of the house and you net it out, 11,500.
Is the first floor all at the same level?
Yes, it is. So, so coming into the lot, and coming into the front of the house, there's 2 steps up. We have a flush threshold from the front porch into the house. And then as you go off into the backyard, it's flush and then down 2 steps.
Is the pad where the home is being built, is that rather level?
Yes, so what we've done is, the existing house, when you enter the site, it's up about 4 steps. So you walk up 4 steps in the front, and as you go through the house, because the lot is sloping from front door to back door fairly significantly. So and then as you go out the existing house, you go down about 2 steps or 3 steps, and then there's a patio, and then you go down another 3 or 4 steps till you get down to the level of the grade there. So what we've done is we've taken the existing site, we've actually lowered our house by a foot, because the existing house is about 2 feet higher, because that's 4 steps. We've lowered it down a foot, and that's why we have the 2 steps up and the 2 steps out. And then that basically puts us fairly flush with the backyard. There's a slight slope gradation. I have a slide in here, if you want me to find it, of the site topography. But it's actually, in the net result is that the house itself is a foot, the first floor is a foot lower than the existing.
Thank you.
Board Member Friedman, I can answer your question. The total allowable square footage is 11,821 square feet. This is a 3-acre property, and the house as proposed is about 83 square feet below that.
Kathy? That's all for
Ross,
me.
anything? Okay. Ted, any questions?
I noticed on this plan that you have 2 actual gates. I assume that their design is the same.
Yes, so let me just go back here. So this is the, yeah, so there's a gate at the garage is in this location. And we have the same curved gate at the front and the same curved gate at the garage. The difference between the two is that the one at the front is at a height that can't exceed 7 feet, so it's just below 7 feet. The one at the garages would be around about 4.5 feet and sloping and curving downward. So they're different sizes, but they have the same motif.
Okay. Out of curiosity, I'd love to understand the rationale for having that secondary gate. It seems like it would be a hassle to deal with once if you've gated the property already. Could you walk us through the
Yes, sure.
rationale?
So actually, the gate to the garage is actually a more decorative gate than it is an operational gate. And so what we've done to this is we tried to create a courtyard for the front of the house here. And this garden wall and gate separates the garage area from the house. And so by having this gate decorated, it also gives a feel and warmth to the entryway, as opposed to just having a wide open You're welcome. So what we've done is we've actually, with these gates here, we've actually created some scale, some interest to this courtyard area. So it feels a little bit separated from the main area to the secondary area.
And is that manually operated, or or for actually both gates, are they remote controlled, or?
Yes, so the front gate would be operational, so it'd be automatic. And this gate would just be basically operated by hand.
Okay.
So it's just more decorative than it is actual use.
The only other question I have is in the backyard, what appears to be a retaining wall. Is that separating different grade heights for the rear lawn, or?
Yeah, so the backyard, so it's actually not a what we've done is we've graded it down, and that little retaining wall is just a 6-inch differential between the grass area and the wetland area.
Okay.
So it's not really, it's not a high retaining wall that's intended to level the ground, at 0, 0. If it was the grade difference from once you leave the house down 2 steps to the wetland area is about 2 feet. So we have an 18-inch gradation, and then that's the separator between the two.
Okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Michael?
Question, I'd like to know your response or your thoughts on staff comments on the lighting and the possibility of maybe looking at a phased approach to implementing that rather than doing it all up front.
Yeah, that's really not a problem. But the way we had looked at it a little bit is that grab. Sure. So first of all, the lighting itself, it's only the lights are only in the 5 watt. We probably use an LED 5 watt down light. So for example, actually, let me just go to the model a little bit here. So what we're talking about is.
Excuse me, do you have your, the microphone, please? Yeah, thanks.
So what we're talking about doing is, a light on this post here, a light on this wall here, and those are just going to be little. They're probably about 2.5-inch LED lights that shine downward. So they're not. It's not as if we're lighting this courtyard up in any way. It's a pretty minimal wattage that we're looking for. It sounds like a lot, 8 light fixtures or 8 additional light fixtures, but the fact is that they're small, they're pretty innocuous, and they're just more or less pathway lighting and safety lighting is the purpose of them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Bob?
Yeah, I've got the same kind of questions on the lighting. So these are all you're gonna see is the light on the pillar itself.
Exactly.
I mean, if you walk 10 feet away, you're gonna barely see it.
Yes, that's exactly right. They're little one. They're about this big around, they're shielded, and then they just have a little lens that throws the light downward.
All right, so those are the ones on the pillars, and then you have the other ones, I think you call them
Yes, there are a couple uplights and.
path light fixtures? The path light ones that are lit up?
Yeah, so these, right, so right here,
Right.
there'd be a little, again, just a little pathway light that's an identifier. So usually the pathway lights that we use, they're about this tall. They have a shield on top, and then they throw, a little cone of
halo,
light,
got it.
a light downward. Again, at night, you don't need a lot of light to produce a walkway path. 5 watts is usually more than enough to light your pathway.
And those are all gonna go off at 11? Like-
They would be on a timer, correct?
Thank you.
Can I just ask for clarification? On the plan, it shows those as uplights. You're saying that they're actually
So,
downlights?
yeah, these two right here, do you have these? What do we have, Bridget? The tree? Say again?
It's focusing on the planting, not trying to light up the structure.
Which ones?
So there's this one here, this one here, this one here. These would be that entryway to the on to the left of the house, but on the model, on the model, it would be light fixtures right here.
Outside, to your right, I think.
Yeah, to
Further,
the,
further to your right. Looks like there's 2 posts there to your
right here, yeah.
Those two, yeah.
Right here, 2 here.
Right.
There's one here, one here. This one, then there's one right here. And then there's a couple that we were showing right in here. So we would work with the staff and make sure that those were lights that keep the light down as opposed to up. Except for the couple that are on the trees. There's a couple of tree lights in there. But again, those don't have to be much more than 20 watts to light the tree up. It's not, and they're all, and when we design them, we also put them on dimmers, so we can always lower the level for the lighting.
Anything else, Bob? Okay.
Thank you.
Fred, any questions?
Yes, I was going to ask you about uplighting on trees. You just answered that.
Okay, good.
That sounds good. Just curious, there's a 12-foot floor-to-floor between basement and first floor. I'm not seeing floor plans. I'm just curious, is something grand going down in the basement?
We're doing, we're still discussing whether it's a 10-foot basement or an 11-foot basement. We're thinking we're going to do a 10-foot basement, so a 10-foot clear area, and then the joists are 14 inches. So you wind up with 11-foot 4 from floor to floor. Is the
Okay.
10 feet is a good number. It gives you, when you put the ductwork into the basement, usually your lowest point in like hallways and in areas, miscellaneous areas, we'll call them, are 8'9", 8'6", 8'9", because the ductwork takes up about 18 inches. And then some of the larger spaces, if there's a family room area, then you get a taller ceiling. But I would say that in most of the houses that we wind up doing, that 75%, 70% the ceilings are at 8'6" because of the amount of ductwork and plumbing that has to go in.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred. One quick question. Could you pull up the west elevation, please?
Yes. Tell me what sheet you're,
We're at BRB 2, west elevation. I'm curious, when you pull it up there, the one chimney that's kind of really visible from the back of the house, to the right of that seems to be a circular, I don't know if that's a window or what that is. I wanted to ask what that is and what the thought process was for that element. So that's north. It'd be that one right there. Yep, you had it. That's fine.
the
Again,
left.
that's just that the circular element to the right of the chimney, kind
Which one here, this?
of. No, go up, second floor. There's only one circle.
Here.
Yes,
Yeah,
there we
yeah.
go.
Floor plan wise, that is closet, master closet.
That's a closet.
Yeah.
And so you just want to get some natural
get some
light in
natural
there.
light in there, correct.
Okay. Do you think that's, it's not really in kind of keeping with the rest of the window line, but,
We could take I mean, I would probably take a look at that one because the entry windows are oval, so we might just take that one and maybe make it an oval. We could take a look at making it a rectangle also. Something we could look at.
okay.
It has to fit in under the roof line. It's headed up there, although.
Okay. And a lot of questions on lighting, since that seems to be one of the only concerns the staff had. Do you and the petitioner have a problem with working with the city to kind of going forward to perhaps it's an additional 5 lights, 10 lights, whatever, but would you be willing to work with the city to get to a
Absolutely.
solution that?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
that's not a problem.
Okay. That's all the questions I had. Anything else as before? Okay. Now's the opportunity for anyone from the public to come up and ask any questions or testify. Okay. Seeing none, without any final other questions to the petitioner, we'll take it to internal board review. Thank you. Ross, why don't you kick it off? What do you think of the project? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a beautiful home, and in keeping with the scale and massing of a large site, very elegantly designed, lots of natural materials, and I think it would be an enhancement to the neighborhood and the community. That said, I have a few concerns, if there are concerns that wish to put on the table. One, of course, is the lighting, and I think Kathy's suggestion and approach in dealing with that is worthy of following up on. Another is there's a lot of gray. It's a sea of gray, supplemented with white accented windows and a little bit of other white. But beyond that, the shingles are gray, the roof will fade gray, the stone is a buff gray. So, although in one sense that I think that is very organic and will work very well with a large structure like this. Another, though, it does concern me a little bit that it's a lot of gray, and as well, I guess I touched on this with Mr. Frank, and that is the flatness of the floor plate. It doesn't follow the site in any sense. Not necessarily an issue or a problem, I'm just pointing it out that large home, what is the width of the home from stem to stern? Roughly. Couple hundred feet?
No, not that big. 100 feet.
100 feet, okay. Well, anyway, that's, for some reason, that's stuck in my vision is a flat floor plate and a lot of gray. So that's what's in my mind, but I'm not necessarily suggesting that that's an issue to pursue, but something noteworthy. Beyond those issues, I think it's very well designed and elegantly specified home.
Okay, great. Thanks. Ted?
I honestly have nothing more to add. I think it's a beautiful home that'll add a lot of nice character to the neighborhood, and my support.
Thank you.
Michael?
I agree, it's beautiful, beautiful design, nice materials, nicely landscaped, and I think it's a nice project.
It's a great project. The two concerns I had was one on the demo concept, but I think because of the beauty of the structure you're putting in there, that solves that issue, and then the lighting. But he's already commented that he'll work with the staff to solve the illumination issues.
All right, Fred?
Yeah, I concur with the previous comments. I think it's beautifully done. And minor thing, the oval window, I like that as well. I think it's a little bit of eclecticism there. Goes well with the character of the house.
All right. Yeah, I really like this replacement structure. I think it's very fitting for that neighborhood. It's going to be a nice addition to that part of Lake Forest and that subdivision. So exciting project. Love the material choice. I really think all the natural stone and shingle, et cetera. I think it's really nice for that wooded lot. So I'm supportive. So with that being said, I think we have a quorum here for approving this. I would say that I would like to make sure that we do have something in there about the lighting, that petitioner will work with staff to make sure the lighting meets the guidelines, reasonable guidelines.
All right, I'll move to approve the petition as submitted.
Okay, I think we should, we should go demo first if we want to do that. So why don't we start with the demolition?
All right, I'll move to approve the demolition of the structure.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Second?
All right, so I'll move to approve the petition as submitted, subject to the findings in the staff report and the conditions therein, with one more condition, which is that the petitioner will cooperate with the staff on the lighting issues to make sure they come within the code itself.
Okay, second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Great,
Petition
thank you very
passes.
much.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
all your
much.
comments. Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is a continued consideration of a request for approval of a new residence and attached garage located at 347 Bluffs Edge Drive. Approval of the overall site plan and conceptual landscape plan is also requested. The owner is Thomas F. Fuller Trust, and the representatives Fred Polito. And before we get going, I think, Michael, you were going to recuse yourself?
Yep, I've been involved with this project, so I'd like to recuse myself from this discussion.
Okay, and Michael's also on a couple of these other ones, so we are bidding him good day. Thank you.
Hey, Kathy, could you help me set this up, please?
You know what, I have to get the video.
Oh, wait.
It's an expensive camera, I know. Well, I think we're just about done. Maple Grove.
Yep, I thought we were in here.
This is all the bonds.
Now I can move this over. Yeah.
It was gorgeous downtown. It's definitely colder up here than it was downtown. Now they had a game tonight out at West Campus, and it was when the sun was behind the trees. Got a little chilly.
No, that just shows the thing. Normally when I can just transfer it over to the screen. Yeah, I've
Do
got
you
it
have
hooked
the
here.
presentation on a zip drive that we could just use our computer or no?
I could put one on, if you have a zip drive, I could easily put it on. You don't know how to get this over.
We have one, okay.
Have a zip drive will travel.
Okay. Now where would I,
Thank you, Dan.
do you see it there? I don't see this zip drive.
I'm guessing that you're
Right
looking for
there,
that
yes,
one
yeah,
right there.
sure, I'll bet you're right.
So you need to drag yours onto there.
Yeah, I'll put it in the PDF.
Really? And eject it.
Okay. So I guess it's this one right there.
Yes.
Okay,
Then you can plug that in right there.
okay, now how would I control this?
And this one. Or which one?
Yeah, it was a PDF, I think it's number 8. So.
This one?
Yeah. Okay, now I wonder if this is gonna have a problem with the translation.
Could it be this one?
Okay, let's try it. Now, is there a way to, how would I control it? Just do it here. How am I gonna, just go like that? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
My name is Fred Polito. I'm an architect, and I'm part of the design team for the Fuller residence. Our team consists of John Whitrock, who's a builder from Elkhorn, Wisconsin, Shannon Brennan Shop, a residential designer from Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and the owner, Tom Fuller, is here also. About a month ago, we appeared here at our initial appearance before the board, and our design team, with Mr. Fuller's input, discussed the reactions that the board had and the suggestions that the board had to our submitted proposals previously. Our team, and especially Mr. Fuller, strongly felt that our basic design concept, as previously submitted, had significant merit, and we thought it would be disadvantageous for us to embark on a major redesign. So what we're going to submit today here is some new elevations indicating a change from a shed dormer to a gable dormer, some elimination of second floor roof and balcony overhangs, a specifying of a 17-inch on center standing seam roof. I think it's fair to say that all these changes can be reasonably and intentionally termed as non-major to the previously presented design. Tonight at the May 6th board meeting, we will attempt to more clarify our previously submitted design, define what a shingle-style architecture is, present examples of that style, and explain how our design is and is not consistent with that style. All done with the purpose that at the end of the meeting that we will have a more favorable outcome of a second board vote. I'm going to start it quickly, just to go over the beginning. The proposal, our site is on the lake, east and south of the major areas of downtown Market Square. The site is on Bluffs Edge Drive and Wesley Drive, just north of that. The actual site is approximately 2 acres. It consists of approximately 30,000 square feet of non-tableland and 59,000 square feet of tableland. The first thing we did was to go to the bulk of the requirements that the city of Lake Forest would allow. And it comes up to approximately 9,000 square feet. I'm out of Northbrook. A lot of this size would allow for a house to be approximately 24,000 square feet. The owner, Mr. Fuller, specifically bought this property knowing these restrictions and actually encouraging and wanting to be a part of a community that would have a rather significant review of what is allowed and what is presented. So we have no problem with the restrictions of a 9,000 square foot home. When we were considering the design requirements, Mr. Fuller, in this 9,000 square feet, wanted a 1,000 square foot boathouse, approximately a 1,000 square foot garage. So that left approximately 7,000 square foot livable space. The next thing was the generation of a floor plan. At last meeting, this floor plan was termed a butterfly. It could be a butterfly design, a fan design, however you want to call it. The design was intentional, because as you can see, the front of the house is minimized, the lineal footage, while the back of the house, that faces the lake, is maximized. So here, this is approximately 10 rooms in this first floor. 7 of those 10 rooms are oriented to the lake. Another advantage of this butterfly design, this fan design, is that the client, our design team, purposely wanted or believe in a complex concept of a design. Whenever you have angles, it immediately generates more interesting roof lines. I think it adds a lot of character to the style of the house. Definitely adds complexity. Another aspect of this butterfly design, as you can see on the garage at the left, the garage doors do not face the street. It's always, I think, desirable not to have the garage doors facing the street. Sometimes they're placed at right angles, but that makes it difficult for a car to pull in. Here, we have a orientation of the lot that would allow for easy access, but not a prominence of the garage placements. Here's the second floor. Once again, all the bedrooms, all the major rooms are oriented to the lake view. Only the sitting room and some of the attic space is oriented to the front of the house. You can see here is the footprint of this designed house and how it would relate to the lot that it's being placed upon. We're approximately 117 feet from the front street. We're approximately 325 feet from the rear lot, from the rear of from the lake. We're approximately 160 feet to the bluff. About 160 feet to the neighbor to the south, and over 140 feet to the neighbor to the north. So orientating the house in this way allows Mr. Fuller to have a terrific view of the lake and his lot, and also to provide screening from the neighbors so that his views and the neighbors' views would not be objectionable. Here is a landscaping plan prepared by Wright Landscaping. You can see here comes the driveway angled and not prominent into the garage. Heavily landscaped areas screening off the house from the street, from the neighbors to the north and from the neighbors to the south. Here's a blow-up of just the garage or the house area and the landscaped area. The house should be well screened both from its neighbors and from the views into the house itself. I included this section to illustrate that in the design of any house in Lake Forest, one must be very careful not to exceed the bulk, the allowable bulk. And so therefore, some of the roof lines are dictated so the attic space is not included in those bulk areas. The nice thing about this criteria is that it tends to develop lower, less imposing houses. And I think it's a good restriction to have. Probably a major influence in the layout and the design of this house was the Fuller's house that they recently built on Lake Geneva. It incorporates many of the things that the Fullers like and really appreciate about their home on Lake Geneva. You can see that it has the angled approaches in the front and a large expanse in the back, a metal roof, siding, and a general feeling of this house that they so like and they wanted to somewhat take a cue from in the design of the Lake Forest house. Here are some of the details that they would like to incorporate on the Lake Forest house. The stone, the detail around the windows. This is clapboard siding. They are proposing to use shingle-style siding. Last month, we presented this house. In my opinion, the massing of this house, the presentation of this house, is basically quite sound. I think the focus on the front area, the fact of a lower roof line, the fact that the major area is in the center, flanked by two sides with dormers, the subdued front garage, the angles, in my opinion, all lead to what I would say is a successfully proposed massing of a house. The style that this would most closely fit, but is not meant to replicate, is shingle-style architecture. Now, shingle-style architecture is defined as the one thing is continuously wood shingle siding. Other things are multiple and asymmetrical roof designs, gable roofs, round roofs, hip roofs, shed roofs, usually not in a symmetrical design. This is according to the Field Guide of American Houses. The popularity of a shingle-style house really reached its zenith in about 1880 to 1900, popular in areas in Newport, Rhode Island, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, the Hamptons on Long Island. The shingle style was really an outgrowth of colonial revival that showed the front porch.
Mr. Polito,
Yes.
I know you're giving us some background here, but we're trying to keep it to the required time limits here.
Yep.
And so a lot of this stuff, I think it might be in best use of our time to kind of go maybe highlight on the property itself where there's been, conflict between city staff and board and what you're presenting, and maybe hit that head on with the remaining time that we can offer you.
Okay, can you get back to our slideshow, or what happened there? Okay, so this is the shingle style, and I think that this was part of the objection of last time, is that we were not being true to this actual style. Here's an example of a shingle style currently, another example of a shingle style currently. Our original submittal was this house. The suggestion was perhaps change these shed roof dormers to gable roof dormers. And that's exactly what we did. I think this is an improvement, but I don't think it greatly affects the actual design and the approval of the house. The massing, the materials are quite similar. Although I personally do like the gables rather than the sheds. Here's a massing of the house. Complaint last time was the fact that we had so many complex roof designs. I think that in this overhead view, you're right, it does. But rarely do you see a house in this manner. Normally you see the house from the front view. And here is the house redesigned with the gable-roofed shed dormers. Here was the shed roof dormers. the gable roof dormers. Here is the house shown more so you can actually see the angled elements of the house. You can get a more sense of the depth of the house, the fact of the garage off to the side, the proportions of the house. I'd just like to point out some of the details, the use of curves, the use of details over where the siding meets the stone, the curves are done in specific points. And I think these were traditional in this style and also done in this house. Last month, we presented this as the rear elevation. There were some comments that it's too complex. The second floor was overhanging the first floor. It doesn't match. Same with the balconies over the second floor and the first floor. Well, we changed that so now they do match. The first floor matches the second floor. In my opinion, not a great change. There was a significant comment upon this element last month. This element was termed maybe a turret or foreign to the design. I think in the previous slides that we showed that we had this style of architecture does have multiple roof types, and this reflects the inside of the breakfast room in this octagonal shape. The owner felt very strongly, no, I do not want to change that style. And I tend to agree with him. I think that it works. Here is the rendering in the back. This one shows the straight up and down first floor, second floor. This example shows where the balcony does overhang and where the second floor. I think the owner is willing to change either way, but I don't think it will greatly reflect the difference in the house. Here is an overhead shot showing the 3 dimensions of the rear facing the lake view. And in conclusion, the boathouse, if you accept the design, is going to follow the design of the house as it is. Is there any questions or comments?
Thank you. Thanks for expediting. I appreciate that. We're going to turn over for the city staff report next. Kathy, please.
When this petition was before the board last month, you did express some concerns about complexity, consistency with a single style, and some of the specific elements. You did see, although we didn't see these renderings until tonight, though these weren't included in your packet and staff has not seen them, those actually helped explain some of the elements. One of the primary changes was a change from the shed dormers to the gable dormers on the front elevation. Those dormers still seem to be oversized and quite prominent, so we would look to the board for some input on those elements. We did meet with a representative of the petitioner and encourage some further study and exploration of some further simplification or further clarification of elements. But the petitioner did ask that we bring this forward for further board input at this point. We did receive a contact from the neighbor to the south who expressed some concern about the lack of detail on the south elevation, expressed overall support for the project, but had some concerns in that area. So we are looking for board direction and input. At this point, we are recommending that the petition be continued for further refinement. But if the board chooses to move it forward, we do have conditions that we could offer. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy. Okay. Now a chance for the board to ask any questions of the petitioner or staff. Fred, why don't we start down your end, if you don't mind this time?
No questions.
No questions? Bob?
I do. I have a couple. I noticed that the total building calculation hasn't been done yet. Is that right? I think I saw that in the report.
The original building scale calculation was in your April packet. A recalculation was not submitted reflecting the change in dormers. Probably not very significant.
Okay. I like the design, by the way. The fact that, in my personal opinion, is kind of irrelevant, but it's going to be a great project. There's no doubt about it. The only issue that I'm having a little trouble with is the massing of it, and I'm glad you brought up this picture number 24 in your presentation there. And what's throwing me is the size of the dormers, in addition to the slope of the roof and how tall it goes. It seems like it's out of place. What I'm seeing, and maybe my eyes are goofy, but it looks like a big rectangle that's really the center of the house. It's just on a plane going up, and then stuff's attached to it. And I'm not sure how you would do this, but it seems that if that could just be toned down a little bit, tone down the dormers a little bit, it'll fit better. So my point is that the massing seems a little bit too large with that middle section. That's one point. The other point is, I did read the neighbor's letter, and that south wall that you can show here to the right of this picture 24, where you have the window kind of lower left and then the window high in the middle. This is not an architectural term, but if you could pretty it up a little bit for the neighbor, that'd be a great thing. And so I guess getting in conclusion, in essence, is you had a massing model in your presentation. It would be great if you could bring that next time. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Ted?
I agree on that south elevation. You've got, well, first of all, I do like the design. I really am not critical of the design at all. The dormers, I honestly am comfortable with them, the way they're designed. Areas that I'd like to see some attention put to is that south elevation that has just been spoken to, that to the extent you can help break that wall up would be great. I'm also looking for clarification on the southeast corner because different elevations and floor plans seem to indicate some alternative different ways you're handling the second floor matching up with the first floor. So, and even in your presentation earlier, you were suggesting you were going both ways. So I'm looking for some direction from you on which of those plans you're actually asking us to approve.
Okay, the one that you had suggested where the first floor follows the second floor.
And that is both the, just so I'm absolutely clear on your intent, that would be
This one here.
affecting the master bathroom as well as the covered deck on the master bedroom?
Exactly.
Okay.
And when we spoke with the owner, that he said if that's what they would prefer, we would do that.
Okay, so I'm looking at your second floor plan. So the master bathroom, the southeastern wall, instead of it being squared, would be angled in the corners.
I believe you're correct. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, here, these would be angled.
as well as the master bathroom?
Yes, here,
Okay.
correct.
The only other question I had is the gazebo type feature that you have over what I guess is your breakfast room. Is that providing natural, is the second floor level windows in that feature providing natural light to the room, or those false windows to it?
No, those would be actual clear store windows that would provide light into this space.
Okay.
And it's not as if they're on the second floor, they're only maybe 12 feet or so above.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Ross?
I'm appreciative of a few changes you've made since we met last. The reducing the standing seam from 24 to 17, I think, is an enhancement. A few other features as well. I concur with my colleagues regarding the south elevation. That is not only visible to the neighbor, but to the street, to Bluff's Edge. So I do believe that needs some attention, both in our architecturally and perhaps from a landscaping perspective. What is the soffit material, the intended soffit material?
Cedar.
Cedar plywood, cedar tongue and groove?
Yeah, cedar plywood.
Plywood. And what is the width of the overhang?
Yeah, 16 inches.
We discussed this the last time as well. I know that the gutters, the downspouts and gutters are called out for aluminum. And I believe I mentioned the last time that with the stone projection beyond the plane of the cedar shingles, although you've got the swoop, the flared section at the bottom of the shingles where they meet the stone, which adds some detail and some grace. I think that a home with a roof of this size and with as many different roof structures, there will be quite a few downspouts required to drain that roof. And again, I want to point out that every one of those downspouts, as it rolls over that flare in the stone, will have multiple seams and bends. And I'm concerned about that detail with respect to aluminum. If it were copper, I think it would have more stability, but even with copper, just point out that it's a lot of downspouts bending over stone, and it's going to draw your eye. So would you, at the end of the day, would you call this a shingle-style home?
I personally would say this is a shingle-style house carried to the next step, just like almost all architectural styles, unless you're replicating something, come from somewhere else. When I look at this house, I see a shingle style, but I also see a more contemporary version of it.
That's all, thank you.
The chimney that you have is going to be river rock, and then is there some kind of cap on the chimney as it's playing out? Could you talk about that?
Have you planned it? It's just going to be masonry? Okay. It would be a masonry cap. Looks like it's somewhat similar to this. So it'd be a decorative cap on there? Yes.
So it'd be a decorative masonry cap, okay. And that rock would match the other rock that you have on the stone,
Yes.
Okay. That's all I've got. Any other questions, gentlemen? Okay. Seeing none. Now's a chance for anyone from the public to come up and testify, if they'd like to. Okay. Seeing none. Any final questions, comments, Kathy? Okay. All right, we'll take it then to internal board review. And Fred, why don't you give us your thoughts on the project?
Okay. Well, I agree with the statement in the presentation that the changes are minor and not significantly different from what was presented before. Change from a shed to the gable on the dormers, but I think the overall result is not significantly different. In other words, I don't think it's gotten worse. I don't think it's gotten better. I think the examples you showed of shingle-style houses were very nice, and I think this would be better if it could be more like some of them. Only one example that you show that had a shed dormer it was different from the shed dormer you've shown in that it grew out of another sloped roof rather than an element just placed on a roof. That's a significant difference, which is why I think the shed dormers you have presented before were not so successful in that they just were an added element on a roof that they didn't belong to. So actually, I don't sense great movement in a positive direction or a negative direction. I think we're about where we were, and I wish I could be more enthusiastic about where that is. But there are many features of the house very nice, by the way. I want to add that as a general background. And I think it could be, however, better.
Okay. Bob?
I'm encouraged. I mean, it's definitely looking great. It needs a couple more, or at least another try with the massing. I do agree the dormers are too large. The way the roof lines, I can't really understand the roof lines, but I did see that mock-up, the massing model. That would be nice to have that, to be able to see how the roof lines all pull together. It's gonna have a huge exposure to the lake, so that's gonna be something that we've got to consider. But it looks good. I think it's hitting all the design elements. For me, it's just the massing issue that I'm concerned about, which is pretty much the last issue. I mean, the windows look okay. Yeah, there's some issues. They can clean all those up. That's not a big problem.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it, okay. Ted?
I support the project. I think the massing is broken up by the complexity of the angles, and I think that adds a design element that's very attractive and appealing. And honestly, with the amount of frontage, it's by and large facing the lake. I can understand why they'd want to maximize that view, and it doesn't have that really detrimental impact on neighbors. As I had touched on, I'd like when the petitioner comes back to have plans that reflect the second floor matching the first floor as we discussed. And again, to the extent they can refine some ideas for that southeast corner to help break up the size of that wall. Other than that, I support the project wholeheartedly.
Okay. All right, Ross?
Well, I concur with my colleagues on all of the comments that have been discussed. The roof massing, I think, needs some significant work, frankly. Something just doesn't, it's not harmonious to me. I think that, the size of the roof relative to the first floor elevation facing Bluff's Edge, there's just some, I agree, there's a massing issue. I am still concerned with the turret in the rear. If this were a private setting and there was no rear elevation exposure, I wouldn't have this concern, but there is the lake, and there is exposure to the rear, and to me, the turret is not in keeping with the character of the design. It's an anomaly. So I would encourage continued exploration of that, and then I would also add that you might consider a different material for the soffitting because they are so pronounced. There is so much of it with as much roof as this home has. Cedar plywood is a monotonous, featureless product, and I believe that would be enhanced with a tongue and groove or some other product that has some detail to it. And I look forward to taking a look at the next pass.
Okay, all right, thanks. I think my thoughts, you call them subtle changes, but I do like the changes that were made, and I know there weren't major changes, but I think the gable dormers look better, and I think the east side with the porches, the second floor element now coming flush with the first floor elements, I think that makes a big difference. I do like that improvement. I think materials are great. I like the fact that this house is 31 feet tall when it could be 40 feet tall. I think it blends in well with the neighborhood. And in general, I'm supportive of this petition. I think there is some further refinements necessary. I think the southeast side could have a little more relief. It's rather stark right now. I would like to, I'm not sure if the dormers are too big or not on the front. I would like to see some options, though, where that comes down a little bit in the size, and let's take a look at it as a board. And then the gazebo element, I was not sold on that, gazebo, turret, whatever you want to call it. I thought the petitioner did a nice job tonight of actually showing some examples that showed that element or something similar to it, and where I'm getting more comfortable with that now. So In general, I think this is close. I think there is perhaps a little bit more we can squeeze out of this. So I'm inclined to go with staff recommendation. We continue this and try to get the best project possible here. So that being said, I don't know if you gentlemen agree with that, if we on that kind of approach here tonight.
I do.
Okay. Ross, Ted, you want to go on board with that? Okay. Seeing that, then we should probably get a motion to that effect.
Move to continue the petition.
Okay. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion is continued. Thank you very much for your time. The next item on the agenda is consideration of request for a wall sign and projecting sign for Forever Om Yoga, an existing Lake Forest business relocated at 828 Northwestern Avenue. Owner is Ryan Stoll, and the representative is Kevin Christensen for Right Way Signs. Welcome.
Thank you for receiving tonight. Just an illustration.
Sure, great. Thank you.
Like to pass them around. The sign lettering and the fastener. All right, I'm gonna switch this over to the document camera, get that some use. Hi, my name is Kevin Christensen, project manager, Right Way Signs, proposing signage for Forever Home Yoga, which is moving from 1407 Northwestern Avenue to 828 Northwestern Avenue. I have a presentation of the previous signage from Total Cleaners. The awning and letters have been removed. A representation here of the proposed signage in the space. The booth sign is affixed to a column on the south side of the building, and the dimensional letters are affixed and centered above the entrance of the building. The flush dimensional lettering is 7 foot 9 inches wide, 12 inches tall at maximum, 12 inches from grade to the bottom of the G there, and 12 inches, 12 feet from grade to the bottom of the G, 13 feet to the top of the F, and again centered above the entrance. The dimensional letters are aluminum, black painted letters, 2-inch with 2-inch metal mounting studs, to be supplemented with construction adhesive. They'll be mounted flush to the building in the mortar joints, not the brick. And you have an example of that passing around. The total graphic space on the blade sign itself is 48 inches from the edge of the bracket building to the end of the frame. 24 inches tall. The frame itself, without the mounting brackets, is 36 inches. The total graphic, the decorative F there in the middle of the circular element, is 9.7 inches within that 24 by 36 inch space, which I believe meets code requirements for graphic. Again, both the letters and the frame are painted black aluminum. We're using a stained hardwood as the background for the signage. So there's a nice contrast of black against a lighter material. The blade sign from grade to the bottom of the blade comes, the bottom of the frame rather, excuse me, is 8 foot 6 inches, 10 foot 6 inches to the top of the blade. We've gone through a few iterations of where the sign was to be hung on the building. We've settled on the south column, so we'll be fastening, depending on the building owner's preference, with either half-inch threaded rods with backing plates, lock nuts, and lock washers, all to be painted black to match the signage. Or failing that, with 5/8 inch red-headed wedge anchors, which are concrete fasteners, also to be painted black to match the signage. And here's the signage built in shop. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Kathy, staff report? Katie.
Thank you. So there are two components to this request. They're looking for approval of the wall sign as well as the projecting sign. Because the projecting sign contains a logo on it and it's in combination with the wall sign, we are looking for the board's review. It does appear that the wall sign and the projecting sign comply with the code. It looks like the logo is well under the allowable 15% of the projecting sign. And there's no other window sign proposed for this petition, so it's just those two signs. And we are looking for the board's input regarding the placement of the projecting sign. Right now it's proposed on the south pier over a decorative element at the top of the pier. It doesn't look like there's very many other options to place a projecting sign, but we did want to get the board's input on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Questions from the board? Ross, any questions on the petition?
The stain color, is this representative of what its intended color will be? This buff?
The picture here is probably is a better representation. I can pass that around. It's a bit warped by the document scanner.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Ted?
If we're approving a sign that says something, I'd really like to understand what Forever Yoga means.
We don't.
Not to ask the stupid question, but
They're a yoga studio. I believe Om is a phrase that's related to yoga. We don't rate our clients based on their business names. We just try to work with.
great. Just want to make sure there's not something subtle or that we're
no.
not understanding
No.
or in any event. The finish of the example lettering that you passed around, is that the black
Yeah.
hue that we'll see on the sign?
Yes, both the frame and the letters.
Great.
Yes.
And it looks like the lettering and logo on the wood sign itself are applied as well? Is it
Yeah.
the same material as that?
Yeah, both aluminum. Yes.
Yeah. Kathy, this is a question for staff. I wasn't sure in your comments if you were concerned about the placement of the sign being over a decorative brick element in that column. Was that a concern of yours?
It was just something I wanted to point out. In the code, it does mention that signs shouldn't obstruct any decorative elements on buildings, and so I did want to point that out. It's fairly simple decorative element, but it's something to take into consideration.
Now, a question back for you.
Sure.
Was there a reason you hadn't contemplated moving it up a little bit where you're getting above that? To call that a decorative element of brickwork is probably an overstatement, but had there been any consideration of raising it up so you get above that feature in the column?
I think the concern was with the design of the blade sign that it might obstruct the flush-mounted letters So we placed one below and one above.
Okay, great. That's all I have, thank you.
Okay. Bob?
I don't have any questions except to say that I Googled Om. It's a mantra. It says Om is a mantra or vibration that is traditionally chanted at the beginning and end of yoga sessions. So there is no hidden meaning.
It's affirming, really.
Very smart because it just slipped by. I have no questions.
All right. Fred, you're a hot yoga guy. What do you think here? What's going on?
I'm a yoga guy. Yeah, I've watched it a lot. The first two letters, or excuse me, two words or elements of the sign, the forever and the Om that we're learning about, have different weight in the. I'm on the wall sign right now, and well, it's also on the blade sign. They are a bold letter, if you will, as opposed to a medium or light. And is that because the first two words are referring to a kind or a modifier of yoga? Yoga is on its own, and the first two words are modifying it in some way. Is that why the graphics change?
I believe that yoga is more of a kind of a generic category, if you will, and this is Forever Om yoga. So the emphasis being on Forever Om, the contrast makes the business name stand out a bit. But I didn't design the Forever Om.
It's just curious because it helps me to understand why the graphics are as they are, that there's a rationale behind it, there's a reason for that difference, and
Sure.
which graphically you might not want to see, but I follow that. And then another question, on the blade sign, I see in it, and maybe I shouldn't see in it, but I see it's almost a prairie-style imagery with the way the patterning is done around the edges. Was that intended? Are you looking for a reference in some way, historically or otherwise, to prairie style?
I don't believe so. I think they just found the hardwood background to be kind of a pleasing contrast rather than a straight white or an off-white.
Okay, that's all I have questions.
The hardwood, I've been by the space on a couple occasions. Does that match the flooring and the interior? Isn't the flooring on the interior a hardwood as well? Is that kind of the
I have
idea
not been in the space, so I honestly don't know.
Okay, I think it does, and I think it kind of, actually, it was a nice little segue into the space because of the hardwood. I don't have any questions at all. Now's a chance for anybody from the public to come up and testify if they'd like. Okay, seeing none. Any final comments or questions? Kate, any other input?
Oh, one more question. There is apparently not any kind of illumination of the
No.
blade sign.
No lighting.
It'll be seen when the sun is shining, and it won't be when it's not.
If lighting is going up, it's not coming
Okay,
from us.
Thank you.
Chairman, I do have
Go ahead, please, yeah.
It being a stained and sealed hardwood siding, obviously that's going to deteriorate over time. And with the applied lettering, has there been any thought in terms of just the maintenance and being able to make sure that it keeps that fresh look if you've got the applied lettering over it? And can you share the maintenance involved with something like this?
Sure. The panels are able to slide in, slide out. I believe the idea is that if there is any deterioration or issue, that we'll be able to slip in a new panel and reaffix the letters to the new panel without much issue. We've got templates.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Kate, okay, great. Chance for us to discuss this internally as a board. Ross, any thoughts on this? You in favor?
I'm in favor, but Ted brings up a good, I think, an important issue, that the weathering and the maintenance of the wooden portion is strictly up to the focus of the owner. And if they choose to or ignore or let it go, then it could be unsightly over time. So it's a good point. Beyond that, I'm completely in favor.
Okay, Ted?
I support.
Okay.
I support.
I support it also.
Okay, all right, well, I do as well. I think it's a great addition to that part of Western Avenue. And with that being said, if we could have a motion for approval?
Move to approve the petition as submitted based upon the findings in the staff report.
Second by Fred. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The next item on the agenda is a consideration of request for approval of a demolition and replacement residence located at 845 Oak Knoll Drive. Approve the overall site plan, and a landscape plan is also requested. The owners are Brandon and Ann Thomas, and the representative is Diana Malakar, architect. Welcome.
We just have to set up a few things here.
Sure. Okay.
I'll do a few introductions while I'm here.
Sounds great.
Good evening. I'm Diana Malakar of Malakar Architects. Gavin Sheridan is setting up those models there. He's an architect from our office. Nancy Hannock, landscape architect, is also with us tonight, as well as Ann Thomas, our client and homeowner. Brandon, her husband, wanted to be here tonight, but he got called away to a business meeting. So we still have the previous presentation up here, which we need to switch out. So. Oh.
Thank you.
How to get it off.
Maybe
Tilted,
it's-
maybe?
Yeah. Or maybe you want to put it against the railing. There you go. Of course, now Ross can't see it.
Perfect.
There you go. Yep, perfect. That's great. Thanks, Kathy.
I just want to make sure I have this right. Okay. Okay. All right, super. I think we're set up now. Before I present our proposed design and supporting documentation, I'd like to give some background information regarding the petition because it informed our proposed design. In 2008, the Thomases purchased their present home at Oak Knoll Drive. Mr. Thomas grew up in Lake Forest, and the Thomases wanted to raise their family in our community too. In 2013, the Thomases requested Malakar Architects' expertise to renovate and add on to their existing home because it no longer met the needs of their family. For over a year, we and the Thomases explored renovation and addition design options. The next few images illustrate the design studies and explorations we undertook. This is a top view image of the existing home model on the left and the existing first floor plan on the right. The current home has two substantial building wings, a bedroom and garage wing to the north, at the top of the images, and a living wing to the south, at the bottom of the images. Connecting those two wings is a pencil-thin building link that houses the very cramped galley kitchen. This kitchen area is presently a bottleneck between the living and bedroom building wings. Also, you can see that the existing courtyard is deeper than wide, limiting views to the backyard. The Thomases wish to correct these major design flaws in their home by substantially expanding their kitchen, in addition to adding a fourth bedroom and correcting the poorly structured garage. These requests seem simple on the outset, but they were much harder to execute due to the existing configuration of the home. Simultaneous to the home additions and renovations, the Thomases also wanted to reorient the entry to their home from Lakewood Drive to Oak Knoll Drive. Here's an image of the home on the corner lot. Oak Knoll Drive is located on the left, and Lakewood Drive is located at the bottom. The home's footprint is indicated in black, and the hardscape is depicted in brown. The home currently has multiple entry points, and the present site layout is confusing to visitors. Presently, most visitors come to the Oak Knoll Drive mudroom entry rather than the Lakewood Drive formal front entry. The next 3 slides contain a representative sampling of the numerous renovation and addition schemes that we and the Thomases consider for their existing home. As you can see in these images, the majority of the addition work was located in the middle zone of the home, at that connecting kitchen link, in an attempt to correct the home's inherent building massing and circulation flaws. However, in all of the proposed design schemes, the original layout and construction of the home hampered our attempts to organize the home in a coherent manner. The proposed plans remained rambling, imbalanced, and disorganized. The existing courtyard dimensions continued to be a problem, and the home's location was too close to Oak Knoll Drive to reconfigure the driveway for an organized entry sequence to the front door. While we worked on potential designs for the Thomases' home, we also undertook building analyses of the existing building construction. On the surface, the home appeared to be in good shape. However, it became apparent that the present house could not support the Thomases' much-desired renovations and additions, and here's why. This is a plan diagram of the existing home's building history. In 1959, the original home and a detached garage were built. Then, by 1974, a permanent link was made between the home and garage. In 1988, the northern bedroom wing and garage expansion occurred. And finally, in 1997, the garage was expanded and the original home was remodeled. As you can see from the plan, the Thomases' home was cobbled together over a 30-year period. This piecemeal construction history is a source of the home's problematic room adjacencies, the poor building massing, and several inherent structural and functional problems. For starters, most of the home is built on a concrete slab. This slab-on-grade construction requires extensive and expensive underpinning to avoid undermining it when additions and renovations occur. Regarding the existing home's walls, they are a short 8-foot height. Ideally, we would prefer to heighten them to provide a more pleasing proportion for the home's architectural style as it expands. However, this cannot be accomplished unless the walls are removed altogether and completely rebuilt. These images show some of the problems associated with the existing construction. Each single problem can be remedied in itself, but combined together, these problems cumulatively amount to a large and expensive undertaking. For example, the home has painted exterior brick. Evidence of brick spalling and popping from moisture deterioration within the existing brick makes us question the integrity of the home's entire exterior veneer. The garage portion of the home is not suitable for any additions or renovations because the roof construction is already overframed. The 1959's home's roof has carpenter-built trusses that cannot sustain renovations. Also, where the different roof areas meet, there presently is water damage. The windows are drafty, have rot and broken window seals, and should be replaced. And finally, all of the mechanical systems are obsolete or undersized for the proposed additions and renovations. Much of the existing ductwork is located in the earth under the concrete slabs and cannot be reworked without demolishing the floors. Therefore, we came to the conclusion that we should explore the design of an entirely new home to provide a building of structural integrity, a pleasing exterior appearance with balance and symmetry, and a functional building interior. This home would be a forever home for the Thomases, so we wanted to design it right. This is an image of the proposed building model. A central symmetrical building mass dominates the home's composition, and the home's massing is a symbol of assemblage of building volumes. 2 additive appendages, the southern dining room porch on the right and the northern garage wing on the left, balance and soften the building ensemble and form a gradual transition to the 2-story facade. You can see in this new home design that we have resolved the awkward building massing of the original home and renovation schemes. Here you can see all 4 elevations of the Thomases' proposed home. Similar to their existing home style, the Thomases always envisioned a colonial revival home, but with 2 stories and authentic detailing. As illustrated in these images, architectural integrity is consistently represented on all 4 facades. At the front facade, shown in the top left image, a 5-part window rhythm at the central building mass is punctuated with a central porch and a traditional paneled wood front door with side lights. A decorative wood cornice with modillions and flanking chimneys provide detail and balance on the central building mass as well. Accurately detailed and refined roof dormers on the main building mass are very important to form a dialogue with the garage wing, which also employs dormers in the gambrel roof. Around the home, you see double-hung multi-pane windows arranged symmetrically and vertically with paneled wood operable shutters. Porches appear additive with classical pilasters, columns, and cornice line balustrading. At the rear facade, on the bottom right, you can see a symmetrically placed double bay window grouping and door in the center. Here are some precedent images of the new home design. The simple building forms and strong roof shapes are representative of the Thomases' new home design. The Thomases prefer a whitewood home with black shutters and a cedar shingle roof. Now I would like to address the bulk of the building on the site. Although the Thomases' proposed home is well under the allowable building bulk by over 900 square feet, we have taken additional measures to reduce the apparent scale of the home. They include the following. The central building mass is concentrated away from the street corner and is located in the middle of the site. Because of the hipped roof shape, you can also see how effectively the apparent height of this central building mass is diminished. On the north wing of the home, we also employ a colonial roof shape to mitigate building mass in the gambrel style. The outside porches and dining room located on the north, south, and front of the home are only 1 story high. This image shows a comparison of the existing site plan on the left and the proposed updated site plan on the right. The proposed site plan has several advantages over the original site plan. As you can see in this image, the new home on the right is more compact than the existing rambling ranch home, so the impervious surface area in the new plan has been significantly reduced by 660 square feet. Also notice that the garaging and driveway for the existing home faces the street. The new design tucks the garaging on the side of the home away from the street view. In this site plan overlay, you can see the footprint of the existing home as shown in the dashed lines relative to the proposed home. The new home's placement is mostly within the existing home's footprint, so it preserves almost all of the healthy mature trees. The proposed landscape design reinforces the balance and order of the colonial revival building style architecture. The driveway, front walk, and rear terrace placements all reinforce the axial arrangement of the plan. Whoops. Views to the backyard and southern side yard are unlimited. This is very different from the existing landscape design that we just reviewed, where rambling paths, the deep building courtyard, and driveways cause confusion on site. This concludes our presentation. Thank you for your consideration. Nancy Hannick is also here to answer questions about the landscape design in the question and answer period. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate, staff report, please.
Thank you. This proposed house is very well designed and very consistent within its chosen style. It complies with all zoning and building scale regulations. It is located on a corner lot on Oak Knoll and Lakewood Drive. That general neighborhood is in transition now. It's seeing a lot of new construction. The character of those two streetscapes are quite different from one another. So we are looking for the board's input and guidance just regarding the orientation of the house on Oak Knoll, its massing and its prominence on that streetscape, especially on Oak Knoll, as it fits a little bit more in with Lakewood Drive. They have revised the site plan, which you have a copy of, and it's adjusted the driveway a little bit, so it's not so close to the neighbors to the north. It looks like there's about 5.5 extra feet that will allow for some plantings to screen the driveway, from the neighboring property. The city arborist will review those plans and see what kinds of plantings can be there. He did note that those plantings should be tall enough to block the headlights from the driveway. He also noted that there should be some diversification of the trees that they plan on planting, just to add some different varieties to it. And the city engineer has reviewed the plans. He noted that the landscaper and the engineer should work together to make sure that the plantings on the north and eastern sides of the properties don't obstruct any of the drainage. And overall, we are recommending approval with any guidance and input from the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions from the board now to the petitioner staff. Ross, do you want to lead us off on this one, please?
Sure. Diana, the gambrel. The composition of the roof structures with the hip and the gambrel,
Yes.
would you speak to that for a moment?
Sure. That hip gambrel roof style is something that you see quite often in all sorts of historic precedents. An example here, like this one down, this one is in Lake Forest. It's got a hip roof and then the gambrel on the side. The important part about having the combination of the hip and gambrel is making sure that they're dormers on the hip as well as the gambrel so that they have a conversation with one another. But that is a really common historical use of roof forms, and it basically came about on the East Coast as houses grew sort of by accretion, over time. So that's the concept with this house as well.
So white clapboard siding,
Correct.
and a white windows.
Very traditional, very what I would call timeless selections.
Cedar shingles, not shakes, but the machine cut.
Shingles. Again, it gives it a cleaner, crisper appearance.
That's all I have for now, thank you.
Ted?
Good evening, Diana. On your east elevation on the bay windows, I didn't see any foundation plan. Are the foundations extending out underneath to support those bays?
Oh, sure.
There.
Oh, sure, yeah. You mean on these bows right here?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I was unclear how the roof above those bays is actually going to be formed. Can you discuss that?
Those are made out of a copper metal.
It just bent, just a smooth bent?
Right.
Okay.
Right. We've done it before. They're absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it sounds like it will be. On the same elevation, on the north side of that elevation, is that a lattice work or is that screen material?
Okay, so you're looking at this right here?
East elevation, right side.
Yeah, the right side here?
Yeah.
The mass model might help you a little bit more. Gavin, do you mind just going up there and showing? That's a screen porch here.
Okay, so it's not a lattice. It's just screen material.
Correct. On the top part there is like a balustrading. So this is balustrading and then this is screen.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Gavin.
Looking at your north elevations with the dormers, it seems very intentional that you have the siding at an angle following the pitch of the roof. And I'm not sure I've ever noticed that before versus it just being horizontal. Could you, I want to confirm that is how you've depicted is in fact how you're showing it, and if you have any examples of.
Oh, are you talking about on the dormers here?
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's, and I can't even really see. That's a really common element as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
To have it follow the roof line.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. And that's always a debate for us is, do we make it out of roof shingle material? Do we make it out of, but in this particular case, we thought it was important that we are making the material, to match on the facade portion of that.
Well, it's not a matter of matching. You've got, the boards are running at an angle following the roof pitch versus horizontal.
I think we got I think we made a detail slide at. Okay, so we don't, we made some extra slides that you didn't see just in case you needed them, but we don't have a slide of that. But yeah, that's a really common technique as well that you see in historic homes. Sometimes they go horizontally, but the angle on the siding here actually helps the water too.
Okay. My last question, also on the north elevation, the archway above that service door to the left of the garage doors, it feels low relative to the door height. Was there was that intentional?
Okay, so the door here is actually recessed in a covered entry porch, so that way, you know, if UPS drops off a package or something like that. So the datum line that we're actually working with is across here at these garage doors.
So it matches that height? It's the same height as the garage doors?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Because that door is set further back, and so it doesn't really, you know, those two head heights don't match.
Yeah, okay. It appeared that it might not be the same height as the garage doors, but.
You know, it looks a little odd when you're looking at a elevation that is flattened, you know?
Okay. Other than that, I think you've designed another beautiful home. I know the Thomases will enjoy it. Congratulations, I have nothing else.
Bob, questions?
No, but thank you for the submittals.
Oh, sure.
That couple packets, that
Thank
just
you.
solved everything. My concern was with the driveway, with the screening, with the neighbor, and you solved it. Thanks.
Fred?
Yes, Diane. Well, it's very, very nice. I have a question about the garage and the garage doors. In the floor plan, the indication seems to be suggesting we have overhead doors. The rectangle is drawn back. And then I'm looking at the elevation, and I may be reading it wrong, but they appear to be hinged. The garage doors in the elevation. And
We just didn't show the lines that would be the actual overhead portion. You know, I mean, because those are sort of hairline, you know, of the actual sections, but they're supposed to look like they're hinged.
But, okay, and because it's a two-car garage,
It's a three-car
is that all
garage.
that door, is the entire two-car portion, shall we say? Is that in one entire piece going to rotate
That's
up in
correct.
overhead
Right.
direction? And then okay, that's interesting, because at the edges, it looks very nice, the way the curve comes down, and there's a very nice character to it. I'm just curious how the clearances work with the...
You know, it's sort of a, we did this on a house over on Laurel Avenue, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. The opening is not the same as the door, so the door is actually not arched. You know, it sits within the opening, so it's actually, it's actually square. So it's kind of a visual trick of
So
the
the-
eye. So
right.
when the door's closed, it looks like it's
The
round.
tracks are entirely, of course, interior, not typical of, okay.
Right.
Okay, that's all I had.
Did you think of orienting the house on Lakewood rather than Oak Knoll, in that it's really sticks out quite a bit on Oak Knoll? Lakewood, you go up and down Lakewood, and you've got similar two-story, you know, really big houses. And with that lot, you have plenty of room to your west there to orient it that way. So I'm just curious, did you look at that? I'm sure you did. Why or why not does that work?
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. We did look at that briefly, and we threw it away almost immediately for a couple of reasons. The first one is that, let's go to the site plan. Hold on a second here. And I had to talk so quickly, I hope you saw, but this is the Thomas's existing house right here, that footprint here. So there were a couple of issues. The first one had to do with the homeowner. I mean, this is a very special home that they want to live in for the rest of their days, and one of the really beautiful things that they have here is this long vista in the backyard and this large backyard. So by rotating the house and putting it on Lakewood, the question was, well, and like I said, we looked at this briefly internally within the office, just to see what would happen. When we rotated it and faced Lakewood, which is down here on the bottom, several things happened. First of all, we suddenly their backyard became very short and their side yards became very long. And the question was, well, where do you place the house then? If you're going to relate it to the houses that are on Lakewood, you're putting it down here, and suddenly you have this big gap in the corner over here on Oak Knoll. So there were so many disadvantages to rotating the house that. But the main reason was that we didn't want to, we were trying to make a beautiful home for the Thomases, and we were taking away one of the biggest amenities for why they wanted to stay on that site. So that was the reason, the main reason.
Okay. The chimney materials are going to be a brick. Have you decided what color brick you're going to have with that?
No, we haven't yet.
Okay.
I would assume, again, in these traditional homes, you'd have the stronger the brick would be a darker color brick. The lighter colors were historically softer bricks that were not as strong to fire. So it'll probably be, I would guess, a stronger, darker red than let's say a peach tone or something.
Okay. You have two kind of second story elements that are above a single story here. I guess it's a dining room, and then your covered screen and porch. You've got kind of I don't know, there's going to be flat roofs, and then
Correct.
On both of those, I imagine you're not going to be used. Those aren't going to be used at all.
No.
At all. And what kind of railings are going to be around that? Is that a wood railing on those things? Okay. Okay.
We do have a detail of that one if you're.
Okay. Okay. That's all I've got. Gentlemen, any other questions at all? Okay. Now's a chance for anybody from the public that wishes to testify to come forth. Anyone? Okay. Seeing none. Anything else, Kate, from the staff's perspective? Okay, so let's take it to internal discussion then. Ross, what are your thoughts on the project?
Well, I understand the reason for demolition. The existing home, although has charm and character and completely fits the character and massing of Oak Knoll. From the street, it certainly appears as though it's a charming home, again, in keeping with the character, but I understand better now the reason it doesn't fit the lifestyle, its materials, its deterioration, very difficult to reinvent and repurpose this home, and it's not historical. So I get the demolition, and the proposed new residence is lovely and proportionate and terrific materials and well thought out detailing and siding. My issue, and you touched on this, Charlie, and that is the siding would be much better on Lakewood. It would be more in keeping with the character of the homes on that street, whereas the homes on Oak Knoll, although I recognize are in transition and up for grabs, the predominant share of those homes are still in keeping with the character of the existing home. So I'm grappling with that. We are changing the character of Oak Knoll. There's no question about it. And I'm struggling with that, frankly.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Ted, what do you think?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's a fantastic design. I think the proportions and the scale are beautiful and not imposing on the neighborhood. Oak Knoll, as Kate had noted, is a street in transition, so I'm not concerned about that. And one thing I have to say in defense of all corner lot landowners, someone who has no backyard, you can't reorient this house. As Diana mentioned, one of the biggest attributes is having that nice, beautiful, big yet backyard. And if you were to turn the house, you're really losing all that benefit. So I emphatically support the orientation of the house as it's proposed. Other than that, I have nothing else to add.
Okay. Bob?
I don't have a lot to add. I mean, it fits all the demolition criteria. The house is great, and I know what Ross is saying. It seems intuitively that it should be turned on that lot, but then, as Ted says, then you blow the backyard. So I'm thinking 30 years down the road, you got to leave it the way it is. That's it.
Okay. Brett?
Yep. I think it's just exquisite, really, really, really nicely done. There's no substitute for talent. I think we have talent in the room. The details, the cornice details, the window details show that that's going to be contributing to the quality as the house takes shape. The detailing is going to be really, really great. I'm okay with the oak knoll. I very much was struck when I visited the site with the difference between this house and what's on the street. But I think that I sense that what's on the street is going to change, and this house may very well influence the direction of that change and in a very positive way. So I support it.
Okay, thanks. Well, the structure itself is, a lot of superlatives thrown out here, but it is great. Timeless architecture really will be a nice addition to the community. I'm like Ross. I'm struggling with this location. A couple mitigating circumstances here. We did approve a nice, rather large home to the southwest of this down Oak Knoll, about 3 houses, which I think turned out very nicely and was amongst some other ranch-style homes as well. I do like the fact that the garage for the proposed structure is going to kind of be across from the garage of the house to the north as well. So you've got, where they're backing up to against each other, they have garage to garage. So I don't think it's not like you're sitting in someone's, bedroom or living room, kitchen right there. So I think that mitigates a little bit. It's still a struggle, but I with the rest of the board, I think I can get on board with this now. And I do think that, like it or not, Oak Knoll will transition over time, especially these large lots at almost 2+ acres. There's going to be a break here, and there will be a run on these houses, I'm sure. So, that being said, I think we have support for this. It sounds like. So, do we have a motion?
Move to approve the demolition.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor for the demolition?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I also move to approve the petition as submitted, subject to the findings and the conditions in the staff report.
Okay. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Motion passes. Thanks. Good luck. The next item on our agenda is consideration of request for approval of a demolition and replacement residence located at 162 Foster Place. Approval of the overall site plan and landscape is also requested. The owners are Jonathan and Daniela Pure, and the representative is Scott Straighthiff. Might be butchering that. I apologize if I am. Architect. Welcome, folks. Sure, you go right there, Scott. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. My name is Scott Stratiff, and I will be presenting this petition tonight on behalf of the owners, Jonathan and Daniela Pure. The primary intent of this petition is to request the approval for the demolition of the structure located at 162 East Foster. This application is requested in order to construct an approximately 6,200 square foot new residence and attached 3-car garage on the site. The proposed new house complies with all zoning, bulk, and building scale requirements for the 67,653 square foot lot. This property is located on the north side of Foster Place, just east of Butler Drive. The stretch of Foster is characterized by a variety of architectural styles. The lots on Foster Place are generally large, with generous spacing and landscaping between neighbors. The neighborhood is in transition and has seen a fair amount of newer construction in recent years. The streetscape is characterized by a mixture of 2-story replacement homes of varying architectural styles, as well as mid-century ranch houses. I'm just going to show you a few pictures of the surrounding neighborhood. This is from the subject property looking to the west, and this is the subject property looking to the east. And then a few of the neighboring properties. This is the neighboring house immediately to the east. This is the neighboring house to the west, and this is the neighbor across the street. Just a few other homes along this street, give you an idea. This is the subject property. After thoroughly researching the history of 162 East Foster, we found no information that would individually or collectively be of special historical, architectural, aesthetic, cultural, or ecological significance to the city. This building, built in the 1960s, was one of many buildings built in this subdivision. It was not the first house built, and there is no other relevance pertaining to the time it was built. There is no architect of record. The architectural style of the building does not reflect any high standards of architectural design or craftsmanship that represent a significant period of residential development. Alternatives to demolition have been explored, but are not realistic for several reasons. First, while the structural members are relatively intact, substantial upgrades and remodeling are necessary to accommodate the current family's programmatic requirements as well as to conform to current building codes. Let's show you a few other shots of the property. This is the back of the house. A few shots of the yard. And some of the interior shots. There is currently a shallow basement. The existing ceiling heights are low by today's standards at 8 feet. We have investigated reusing the essential structure of the existing house to renovate the property so that it will be suitable for the owner's needs. However, substantial changes would be required to adapt the existing house to the owner's needs. The extent of work required to address faults of the house and to address the desires of the property owner would likely result in a near demolition and perhaps be an inferior end product due to attempting to work with and around a non-significant structure. The existing home is in need of extensive alteration. The majority of the house would be replaced given the need for a full-depth foundation, higher ceilings, kitchen, fixtures, floors, etc. The extent of the work required to adaptively reuse the existing home would be cost prohibitive and is not a sound investment. A few other pictures of the interior here. If the demolition is approved, the owners intend to recycle as many materials as possible, as well as donate reusable fixtures and finishes to Habitat for Humanity. The Pures currently live in Lake Forest with their growing family and are very interested in maintaining both the character of their neighborhood and their home. They have been sensitive in proposing a new home that meets their individual needs while supporting the evolving style and character of East Foster. This is the proposed site plan. The new home is sited slightly further back on the property compared to the existing structure. You can see the outline of the existing structure right here, and then the new siting of the new house. It's the front elevation. The house has precedence as it is an American home, but works within the tradition of French architectural influences. Some of the defining characteristics are steeply pitched roofs with eaves that flare slightly, asymmetrical massing, but with a balanced composition, and properly proportioned French casement windows. The intent is to propose a house that has a subdued, understated aesthetic that maintains the classic elegance of the surrounding neighborhood. The proposed design uses high-quality traditional materials and details. The proposed exterior is composed of natural materials such as Lannon stone with carved limestone accents around the windows and doors. Stucco accents. The windows are clad with simulated true divided lights. The roof is cedar shingle with bronze-colored aluminum gutters and downspouts. The flashing and metal roofs will be copper. The wood trim will be in a neutral color and will be enhanced at the bay windows, eaves, and dormers. This is the west elevation. The east elevation. This is the north elevation in the rear of the property. And then the west elevation. This is a streetscape elevation which shows the massing compared to the neighboring houses and the separation between the two properties, or the properties. Finally, a landscape plan has been prepared by Wright Landscaping. The plan identifies the major plantings proposed as well as screening to the neighboring properties. Jason Quigley from Wright Landscaping is here this evening, and he can address any landscaping questions that you may have. There's also an engineering plan that has been prepared by Mike Bleck from Bleck Engineering, which identifies the proposed tree removal and addresses the topography issues and stormwater runoff. In conclusion, the proposed project satisfies the programmatic needs of the owners and will generally improve the overall appearance of the property on East Foster. Our objective is to create a sensitive design and a home that would contribute to the architectural heritage of Lake Forest. No neighbors would be adversely impacted by the new home, as there are no zoning or building scale variances requested. For these reasons, we would like to request that this petition be approved. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration.
Thank you very much. And, Kate, are you doing this one as well? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. The proposed home is well-designed, of high-quality materials. The petitioner has submitted a slight revised site plan that I've provided for you. The home was rotated just very slightly in order to minimize the retaining wall on the west side of the site. Staff is looking for the board's input regarding the use of aluminum for the gutters and downspouts. Given the high quality of materials proposed, staff is recommending maybe using copper. So we're looking for the board's input on that. The city arborist has reviewed the plans for the new residence, and he did note that there should be adequate screening on the west side of the site to screen the driveway and the garage. So he will verify that on the final landscaping plan. And the city engineer has reviewed the plans. There were no major issues, but he will verify that there are no drainage or grading concerns when the final plans come in. And staff will verify that the height of the proposed residence, it's now at 38 feet. We will verify that it's under the allowable 40 feet when we receive the final plans. But overall, we are recommending approval of the project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Now a chance for the board to ask questions of the petitioner or staff. Fred, you want to start down that side?
My question is, did you prepare the drawings that we're looking at?
I did.
This is just so refreshing to see hand-drawn architectural drawings
Thank you.
like we used to do them 40 years ago, all right? No, it's wonderful to see that this kind of drawing and the skill is continuing. That's great. No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Bob?
I do. I've got a couple things to talk about. One is, I want to talk about the driveways first. It seems like there's a lot of impervious surface related to the driveways coming into the house in the front and the side. Have you thought about minimizing that at all? It just seems to me that there is an awful lot of driveway for the size of the property and the size of the house.
Yeah, the owners requested to have a circular driveway. So we tried to accommodate that and then provide access to the 3-car garage and a little bit of parking in the front for guests that drive up. But we can certainly explore ways to try and minimize the impervious a little bit more.
Yeah, you got such a great front yard, it's kind of,
Yeah.
that was my one thought.
Did try and push the house back to mitigate that a little bit, and kind of maintain the front yard, at least in front of the building setback line. And we may even be open to moving it back slightly more if it helps, with the impervious situation.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about was the roof, the proposed roof plan. You have a lot of angles on that roof. It's going to be a bear for the carpenter to put that together. I'm looking at the picture. It's on your page. I'm not really sure which page. It's proposed roof plan. It's the page. Kind of almost having a hard time understanding even how it works. So
Probably the model is the best.
I'm actually kind of looking at that from here.
The massing is probably easier
All right, well,
to
I'll take
explain in the
that.
model.
All right, thanks.
Anything else, Bob?
Yeah, that's it.
Ted, questions?
Good evening. Questions on your, I guess that would be your south elevation, the front elevation. The second floor, I think it's a bathroom. I'm unclear from the design what the features are that you've drawn into the elevation, because it looks like only one of those is an actual window. Can you elaborate on that?
That's correct. It's a little bit of a Tudor detail, so it's kind of half timbering and wood eave and then stucco in between the panels, but only one of the panels has a window.
Okay, so they're not false windows or anything like that?
They're not false windows. It's just a
Stucco.
series of stucco panels, and then in one of the panels is a window, which happens to fall in the bathroom.
In our package, there was no floor plan for the third floor, but I see you have a staircase. So do you have plans for something more elaborate upstairs that?
There is a plan for an open craft room for Daniela's business. So she's just going to have an open kind of art room, craft room up on that floor. So you just walk up to one big open room.
Okay. Sticking to the attic, on the rear elevation, the north elevation, those are skylights, I'm assuming?
Yes.
And on the, which elevation? This is the east elevation. There's a feature with an oval and like a diamond in it. Is that a window?
That is the powder room, which is sort of on axis with the front entry as you walk in, and you look down, and that window is sort of a focal point from when you circulate through the main part of the house. So we were going to do something just a little different with that window.
Okay. And any consideration of keeping the style of window similar in terms of the mullions or muttons or?
I'm sure we'd be open to that. Yes.
That's all I've got. It's a beautiful home, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Ross?
Do you have any detail on the railings?
Not at the moment. That would I'm sure be developed with the design development. But our intent would be to keep those very simple. I think on the front elevation we show a very simple oval in the center of each railing in front of the windows.
Black?
Black.
What are the chimney pots?
Chimney pots would just be probably a clay chimney pot from Superior Clay Products. You know, they have a couple of very traditional styles.
Are those ocular, the dormers? I guess those are not ocular. What are those, barrel roofs over copper, or what's proposed for the roof of the
Yes,
dormers?
the dormers are actually proposed to be arched. You know, a segment head arch with a straight window, and then they would have a copper roof over it. And our intent actually is to have all of the dormers match around the house. I know in the elevation we show a hipped roof on the garage side, but on the model it's more of an arched segment head. So our intent is to really have all those dormers match around the building.
So all the dormers will be arched, is what you're
That's
contemplating
correct.
now? Okay.
I think there's 5 of them.
Is that including over the garage?
That's correct.
So just to verify the exterior finishes, 3 on your key is stucco, which is the predominant finish, over a wainscot of
I think the stone's probably the predominant one, actually, Ross.
Is it?
Looks like, yeah, land and stone, I would think.
Land and stone is predominant. So what I've got rendered with these little kind of hatch lines is all land and stone. There's a little land and stone knee wall here. This is stucco.
Okay,
And
so
then
there's
there's some sort of
so now I understand.
Do you have a color scheme for the house, for those materials?
We don't, but it would be kind of a traditional land and stone that you see in many of the homes, kind of a buff color, and then a very neutral. And
then the stucco as well, a
neutral kind of off-white,
Off-white.
color. We haven't really, that'll come out a little bit more in the design development, but we haven't really landed on that yet.
I think those colors are, the palette is important to understand, but that's all I have.
Question for staff, Kathy, maybe is there been an issue on Foster/Butler with drainage at all through the years, or no?
The lots are large, and there is a grade change in that area, but it's not an area that comes to mind as an area that we receive calls from. So it's not one of those.
Nothing that-
We've just had ward meetings and no one from Foster showed up, so
Okay.
doesn't come to mind.
Okay. The front element, just to the left of the entrance door, you've got kind of a 2-story, kind of very high glass element there, and I'm just curious. You've got kind of a story and a half as the main element, and then below it, it's kind of a lower windows there. I don't know if that comes up to chest height or what that is, but I don't know. Is that a stairwell that's behind that element, or what?
That's correct. That's the stair hall. So the front entry is right here. And you enter into an entry foyer. And then off to the left is the stair hall, which is that element that you're talking about. So you walk up to a landing at halfway point, and those are the windows that you're seeing in the front of the house. And then you walk down to the basement, and when you get to the basement landing, the lower windows is what you see, what you're referring to on the front elevation.
So you're walking. I guess I'm not following that. Maybe you could go back to the facade and show that. So the
Sorry. Went the wrong way.
aren't you at grade right there? So how could you?
So you walk in the front door.
Yeah.
And then you walk up a half a flight of stair, and the landing is right here. So you're standing halfway up, and these are the windows. And then
Okay.
you walk down into the basement, and the landing is for the basement will be right around there. when you're standing on that landing, you can see
Gotcha.
out.
So you got both the up and down staircases from that element
Have
there.
light,
Okay,
yeah.
I got it now. Okay. And then that looks like it's actually protruding a little bit, so you have some windows in on the, I guess, the east face of that?
That's correct.
I've never seen an element like that, I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure if it's in fitting with the style or not. It'd be nice to have that much light certainly coming in there. And then staff's recommending, if possible, copper gutters. Would the petitioner be willing to do that? Because the quality of the materials here, it's outstanding. Very nice home. It probably would be more fitting of this quality construction.
Yeah, I would certainly vote for that as well. I'm sure that's, going to be a budgetary item, but, I would vote for that. But
Okay, great, thanks.
okay.
That's all I have. Gentlemen, any other questions at all, or?
I have a question
Yeah.
for the staff. Are we considering the pool that's contemplated in the plan at this point?
I believe it was really shown to let you know of the longer-term intention. Normally, the Building Review Board doesn't necessarily review pools, but certainly if you have comments or direction to offer, it'd be appropriate.
Yeah, the pool is not going to be constructed right away, but it is a long-term plan. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? Okay, see none. Chance for anybody from the public to come up and testify? Okay, seeing none. We will, Kate, any other final staff comments at all? Okay. Seeing that, we'll go to our internal board review. Fred, you want to start us off?
Yes, I think this is really marvelous, and the more I study the drawings, the plans and so on, I keep finding more features that I think are really excellent. The entryway coming in, you have a deep arch using the closet to give you the depth of an arch, as opposed to a 6-inch wall having an arch, which would be very thin and insignificant. This is really delightful, outside and inside. I strongly support it.
Okay, thanks, Fred.
I definitely like the direction it's going. The material color is an issue, and the flatness of the drawings. I'm looking at the mock-up, which looks great, but like the dormers don't match the drawings, and then there's depths. So on the front, like the front door, with the columns that are, the 3 window columns that are to the left of the front door, I can't tell if those are coming out, if they're coming out 6 feet or 2 feet or 1 foot. And then to the right of the door, I can't tell if that's coming out 1.5 feet or not, or if it's flush. So for me, it would be nice to have the drawings kind of tidied up a little bit so that we can actually see those spatial dimensions to understand really what's happening. There's elements in here. If you look above the door, I can tell you right now, if you look above the door, front door, you'll see like a mini roof line that's got a detail off to the right that's a little protruding detail, but to the left, it looks like it's butting into the 3 column windows. And then, but on the lower, above the 3 lower windows, there's another detail that's got an angle by one of the front door lights. But on the left side, it looks like it's butting into another structure that's coming out again. Kind of having a hard time, understanding what's what.
Okay. All right, Ted?
I couldn't agree with my colleagues more. Understanding the color palettes of how all the different elements are coming together is going to be very important to putting everything into context. The other aspect, I certainly appreciate having the model that you've put together, but it's difficult for us to see it from across the floor here. To the extent you can render it the next time you come in front of us in a computer model that you can see the building from different angles and how the shapes come together will be helpful as well. But you've put together a beautiful home, really support the direction you're going, and look forward to discussing where you've taken it from there.
Okay, Ross?
I concur with the comments mentioned. I also believe that strongly that the downspouts and gutters should be copper to match the flashings and the roof and the stone and the character of the home. As well, Bob's comment about the driveway, it's excessive visually, aesthetically, as well as from an impervious standpoint. I know that adds quite a bit of cost, but you might consider pavers if you're dead set on leaving the amount of massing of that driveway. The pavers certainly would add an aesthetic value as well as a percolation drainage value, but they are costly, or reduce the size of the driveway. And the palette certainly having a keen interest in the overall palette, but the well detailed, I think it would be the massing on this site, on that street is appropriate, and aside from the comments, I think we're going in the right direction here.
Okay. Yeah, I really like this home, and I think it is fitting to the neighborhood. The massing material is very high quality. A nice project here. I guess my question to you folks on the board here, are we comfortable approving this? Or it sounds like some people are expecting this to come back to the board with a continuation. So let me ask that question. Ross, do you want this to come back with a color palette and et cetera, or do you want to leave it in the hands of staff, or what would you like to see as a next step here?
Kathy, are you comfortable leaving these concerns in staff's hands?
I think that the details that you're looking for, I am confident that the team they've put together can produce. An alternative would be if certainly you have the option of bringing it back, or the alternative of, because it sounds like you are all very close and supportive of the project, appointing a subcommittee to just review those details. So if you're comfortable leaving it with staff, we're comfortable working with the petitioner and their team.
Okay. What do you think, guys? I'm comfortable with staff.
Great.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with that. I have confidence in the quality of what's going to be coming forward based upon what I'm seeing so far.
Well, it is. It's a great first step. Another question to the board, because it'll be germane to the motion. How set are we on the copper gutters? It seems like the petitioner is willing to do that, but do we make it a necessary element for
I would
approval?
like to.
Condition.
You want it to be a condition? Okay. All right. With that in mind, I guess we would
As well
start.
as the driveway matter. Alternative solutions, either make the driveway smaller, use impervious materials, as Ross suggested, I think.
Okay. Okay, then if we're rallying around that, we would need a motion for the demolition to start with.
All right, I'll move for the demolition, for approval of the demolition.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, the demolition's approved.
All right, then I move for approval of the petition as submitted, subject to the staff's findings and conditions in the staff report, but in addition thereto, that there's an installation of the copper gutter system, and that the driveway be visited related to the massing of the driveway, with the consideration of using a pervious driveway system.
As well as staff reviewing and approving the overall color palette of the exterior materials.
As
And
amended.
details,
Details.
and design details.
As amended.
Okay.
I will second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion passes. Congratulations, good luck.
Thank you, Chairman King, for 6 years.
Yes.
We do have an opportunity for other, from the public to address the board. Any other non-board members? No? Okay, seeing none. Anything else from the staff, Kathy?
I was just going to thank you as well and invite you back to the next meeting to be officially honored from the other side of the railing.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. It's been my distinct pleasure. It's really been quite enjoyable working with everyone here from the city and my fellow board members. So I appreciate the patience everyone's had through the years for me. And with that, does anyone move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Okay, second.
Second.
We are all in favor?
Make it a good one.
I am adjourned.
Sounds good.
That's historic. That's historic.